going to get to Caitlin Clark fans and the nuclear backlash that A'ja Wilson is getting right now over the the reveal of her Nike signature.
A'ja Wilson just got a brutal reality check this week, and I'm telling you it's going to echo through her entire career. For 2 whole years, Wilson had been relentlessly taking aim at Caitlin Clark, the player she genuinely believed she owned the entire league over. But Team US, they just delivered the ultimate, most definitive slap in the face. They didn't just sideline Wilson, they outright threw her right off the selection roster. And to add insult to injury, they formally unequivocally handed Clark a starting spot in the senior national pool for both the massive 2026 World Cup and the highly anticipated 2020. We've got the full unvarnished breakdown of Wilson's epic meltdown and, perhaps even more importantly, the single fatal flaw in her game that the WNBA establishment for its own reasons conveniently never told you about. So let me ask you, after hearing all this, do you think Wilson truly deserved to be kicked off Team USA? Let us know your honest thoughts down in the comments below.
If you're taken aback by that, if you're like, wait a minute, that didn't compute. What about all of the A'ja Wilson Nike outrage last year that subjected not only Caitlin Clark, but her fans to all kinds of race?
Honestly, just try to imagine this for a moment. You are, without a doubt, one of the greatest players in the WNBA, considered the true face of the entire league, the kind of athlete whose name is synonymous with the sport. Now picture having your most prestigious, most coveted opportunity, the chance to represent your country on the global stage, just brutally snatched away from you. That, my friends, is exactly the devastating reality that A'ja Wilson now faces. The woman who truly believed her name was completely synonymous with women's basketball just received a very public and undoubtedly excruciatingly painful lesson. Your reputation, no matter how shiny, is absolutely not a contract. Team USA's decision to not only exclude her, but to pointedly include Caitlin Clark in that elite selection pool wasn't some casual statistical analysis. Oh no. It was a cold, hard, absolutely unforgiving evaluation. A direct assessment of which player's game genuinely translates to the incredibly intense, high-stakes pressure cooker of global competition. And the outcome? It's a perfect, almost cinematic example of the catastrophic consequences when you try to substitute genuine, fundamental skill for mere spectacle, or even worse, when you replace strong, unifying character with disruptive, self-serving chaos.
Great pass by Chelsea Gray into A'ja Wilson.
Now here's where we expose the absolute biggest secret in the WNBA. The one that the old guard and a lot of the established media conveniently, and perhaps strategically, choose to ignore. We're talking about the fatal, fundamental flaw in A'ja Wilson's game. She doesn't just run on pure, raw skill, folks. She runs on what we call special whistles. Think about it. Look at her free throw attempts. I mean, seriously, look. She averages nearly 12 per game. Now, on the surface, that might sound like the sign of an unstoppable force. A player so dominant no one can contain her. But when you peel back the layers, what it actually reveals is a player who has absolutely mastered the intricate art of selling contact to referees. Every single drive to the basket isn't just a powerful move. It often concludes with an exaggerated flail, a dramatic toss of the head, and almost every single defensive contest, no matter how incidental, results in this theatrical, dramatic appeal for a foul call. For years, WNBA referees have, let's be frank, been protecting offensive players like Wilson, essentially allowing her to morph into this unstoppable offensive machine, one powered not solely by her talent, but significantly by a steady stream of favorable officiating. And yes, you could argue it's a genius strategy for navigating the WNBA's specific rulebook, a way to maximize points. But here's the harsh reality. It transforms into an absolutely crippling, game-ending liability on the international stage.
A'ja, it looked like they really were intentional about going to Aaliyah in the second half. What was, I guess, difficult about containing her? I know you guys kind of touched on a few things, maybe with the foul calls, but what made it successful for them to keep going to her tonight?
I don't know. You're going to have to ask Aaliyah that question. I honestly, you just do your work. You got to do your work early and make it different. But Aaliyah did say I have a special whistle. And she shot 13 today.
She said that to you?
Yeah. Yeah. She said the last game I had a special whistle, which is cool. So we just got to play better defense, make her look a little difficult, and kind of go from there.
All right, thank you all.
And here's the critical point that many people miss. Team USA coaches and scouts weren't sitting around watching her polished WNBA highlight reels, dreaming of what she could be. No, they were intently studying her international exhibition games, dissecting every single play. And let me tell you, what they witnessed absolutely horrified them. You see, FIBA referees, those governing the international game, operate on a completely different wavelength. They simply don't care about your WNBA MVP trophies, your league accolades, or how famous you are. They officiate a game where a much higher level of physical play is not just permitted but expected. The kind of contact that would send A'ja Wilson to the free throw line a dozen times in a typical Aces matchup, consistently racking up points, internationally results in nothing more than a simple playoff. The physical, dynamic, and flowing style of international basketball brutally unequivocally exposes any player whose offensive game is built on a foundation of depending on the officials to create their scoring opportunities. It's a harsh truth, but it's a reality that can't be ignored when you're building an Olympic-caliber team.
Some folks are talking about A'ja Wilson, you know, the player on the team where people are abandoning like rats off a sinking ship. You know, A'ja Wilson, who has won 2 championships in the WNBA. A'ja Wilson, who was crowned MVP before the 2024 season started. A'ja Wilson, you know, she's a really good basketball player. But back to culture. I wouldn't want A'ja Wilson on my team, or maybe I should turn it around. Since she's A'ja Wilson, I wouldn't want to be on A'ja Wilson.
And this, my friends, is where we arrive at the absolutely stark, undeniable contrast with Caitlin Clark. Because Clark, quite frankly, operates on a completely different plane of basketball existence. Picture this. She's pulling up from 30 feet out, launching and draining shots that no referee, no matter how biased, can ever take away from her. When defenders inevitably make contact, she doesn't flail or fall, she finishes right through it, often not even registering or looking for the whistle. Her signature step-back three-pointers and those impossibly deep-range shots, they are the epitome of purely self-reliant offense. She systematically beats defenders with an unparalleled combination of uncanny shot selection, elite basketball IQ, and razor-sharp footwork. A skill set, let me emphasize, that translates perfectly to literally any court in the world, completely regardless of who is holding the whistle. Now let's look at the other side of that coin. Team USA scouts, with their keen professional eyes, watched in disbelief as A'ja Wilson's scoring efficiency absolutely plummeted during international play, when the officials allowed real physical defense, the kind that doesn't cater to an offensive player's every whim. Her production dropped dramatically, almost off a cliff, because those specific marginal calls she had grown to utterly rely on simply evaporated into thin air. Meanwhile, Clark's numbers, they stayed rock solid, unwavering. And why is that? Because her game is meticulously built on creating genuine separation with a lightning-quick release point and an insane shooting range, not by initiating marginal contact, hoping to draw a foul. The difference here isn't subtle, it's screamingly obvious when you witness it side by side. Wilson initiates contact, then freezes, waiting, almost praying for that whistle and the subsequent free throws. Clark, on the other hand, anticipates the contact, adjusts her body mid-air, and then scores through it. Wilson's method, it's perfect, absolutely tailor-made for the highly controlled, offense-friendly environment of the WNBA. But Clark's method, it's perfect for everywhere, because it's built on fundamental, unassailable skill, rather than cleverly gaming a specific rule set. International basketball demands an entirely different kind of player. It demands pure adaptability. FIBA games are less interrupted, significantly more physical, and officials generally allow both teams to play through much more contact. What this means is that Wilson's foul-baiting techniques, which are so effective domestically, transform into genuine liabilities, because her entire scoring rhythm is dependent on constant interruptions and favorable calls that simply never materialize. Team USA coaches absolutely need players who possess the mental and physical agility to adjust their approach based on the wildly varied officiating styles they will encounter in different countries. Wilson's unwavering dependence on specific WNBA officiating makes her a giant, completely unnecessary risk for the Olympics. But Clark's self-reliant, truly unguardable scoring ability, that makes her a guaranteed invaluable asset in any basketball environment. The choice wasn't just clear. For the coaches, it was an absolute no-brainer. One player required a highly specific set of favorable conditions to succeed. The other player creates her own success with pure, unadulterated basketball ability. So, with all that in mind, how exactly did the former face of the league react to being told, in no uncertain terms, that her country's team no longer needed her. In a single explosive word, explosively. Wilson, you see, genuinely believed that December would be just another month of effortlessly collecting trophies and soaking in adoring praise. Instead, she was hit with a piece of news that absolutely shattered her entire sense of entitlement. Team USA quietly dropped their preliminary selection pool for the upcoming evaluation camps, and Wilson's name, to her utter shock, was conspicuously absent. Sources incredibly close to the Aces organization described her immediate reaction as nothing short of an epic emotional meltdown, one that reportedly lasted for multiple, agonizing days. The player, who had spent the last 2 years convinced she was untouchable, suddenly discovered she had been decisively replaced by the exact person she had dedicated that same time to relentlessly trying to undermine and tear down. Clark, conversely, received her formal invitation to the senior national team pool, while Wilson was left out entirely. The irony, when you truly consider it, is absolutely delicious, especially when you remember Wilson spent countless petty hours on social media publicly questioning Clark's very right to exist, let alone shine in the national spotlight. Wilson, predictably, immediately started making desperate, frantic phone calls to Team USA, demanding an explanation, a justification for her exclusion, for this perceived betrayal. She reportedly churned through multiple contacts within USA Basketball, desperately trying to figure out how such an unthinkable slight could have possibly occurred. Her representatives were running around like headless chickens, trying to schedule last-minute, emergency meetings with coaching staff members, who quite frankly, had already moved on, already fully committed to evaluating the players who actually made the cut. Meanwhile, Clark was receiving a flood of genuine, heartfelt congratulatory messages from teammates, coaches, and legions of fans, all celebrating her well-deserved chance to represent her country. Her response, in stark contrast, was one of typical, unflashy grace and profound humility, simply expressing genuine gratitude and palpable excitement to learn from the veteran. The difference in their reactions is a complete, unscripted documentary on their fundamental inherent differences in character. Clark posted a simple, dignified thank you message, completely devoid of any cheap shots or demanding anything further. Wilson's camp, however, almost immediately started floating transparently ridiculous stories about supposed scheduling conflicts and prior commitments that had, they claimed, prevented her from participating. Let's be real, absolutely nobody bought those pathetic attempts to save face after she was so publicly, so definitively cut. This was the moment the true, inescapable consequences of Wilson's toxic, 2-year campaign against Clark were revealed in all their brutal clarity. Team USA coaches, it turns out, had been watching her every move, her every word, all along. Every passive-aggressive comment, every cryptic social media post, every single interview shot fired against Clark, it was all meticulously noted by officials who, above all else, prioritized team chemistry and impeccable professional conduct. Wilson's constant, petty attacks on the league's biggest star demonstrated the precise brand of toxic attitude that absolutely destroys locker rooms and shatters national team unity. Clark's unwavering reaction to Wilson's constant, petty harassment only strengthened her already compelling case for inclusion. She never once responded with personal attacks. Instead, she focused with laser-like precision on her game, letting her unparalleled performance speak for itself, while Wilson wasted precious energy on negativity, jealousy, and self-serving drama. The message from Team USA is now crystal clear, sharp as a razor. Toxic behavior has real, undeniable, and career-altering consequences. They chose character over chaos. They chose unwavering professionalism over petty vindictiveness. They chose genuine team builders over destructive team destroyers. Wilson's furious, childish tantrum about her exclusion, ironically, actually served to powerfully prove that the coaches had made not just the right decision, but the only decision. A player who cannot even handle the emotional blow of not being selected for a roster certainly cannot, under any circumstances, handle the intense global pressure of representing her country on the world stage. Her explosive emotional breakdown proved, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that she completely lacks the mental toughness, the resilience, required for elite international competition. Clark, on the other hand, earned her spot through sheer undeniable talent and an unwavering, exemplary character, while Wilson tragically lost hers through abysmally poor judgment and blinding, self-destructive jealousy. The player who couldn't even handle fan criticism definitely couldn't represent American basketball with the grace, the composure, and the dignity that such a role unequivocally demands. Wilson felt utterly secure, almost invincible, when she decided to begin her sustained, 2-year attack on Clark back into. She had her MVP awards, her ratchet rings, and the media-anointed self-proclaimed title of the face of women's basketball. Every thinly veiled tweet, every passive-aggressive comment, felt entirely justified to someone who genuinely believed with absolute conviction that she owned the spotlight, that it was hers by divine right. Wilson and her misguided allies completely convinced themselves that they were bravely protecting the integrity of the WNBA from the overwhelming, unprecedented media attention Clark was effortlessly receiving. Wilson started liking posts that brazenly questioned Clark's very legitimacy in the league, and tirelessly shared content that highlighted veteran accomplishments directly over Clark's consistent, record-breaking moments. But USA basketball officials, they were watching every single interaction, every subtle jab, with a cold, professional and utterly objective eye. They noticed with precision how Wilson consistently responded to Clark's incredible success with skepticism, with resentment, instead of genuine celebration. When Clark received Time magazine's prestigious Athlete of the Year award, for instance, Wilson's social media activity reeked of doubt and simmering resentment, rather than expressing even a shred of support or pride for women's basketball finally receiving such massive, mainstream, and well-deserved recognition. They took careful, deliberate note of exactly who was actively working to build up the sport, to expand its reach, and who was actively, ruthlessly trying to tear a competitor down. Wilson's interviews grew increasingly pointed, almost venomous, as Clark's popularity absolutely exploded. She started throwing around loaded phrases like real impact and sustained excellence in ways that were clearly and strategically designed to diminish Clark's undeniable achievement. She questioned Clark's actual influence on the sport, a truly hilarious sentiment, bordering on delusional, considering Clark was single-handedly selling out every single arena she played in, and bringing millions of unprecedented new fans to women's basketball globally. Wilson's social media posts, when you look back, tell the definitive, tragic story of her downfall. She shared statistics about veteran scoring records in a direct, undeniably petty response to Clark's groundbreaking coverage. She simply would not, handle the fact that someone more marketable, undeniably more talented, and universally more appealing, was fundamentally changing the entire conversation around women's basketball. She tragically turned every single Clark achievement into a personal attack on her own legacy, selfishly making Clark's monumental success about herself, instead of celebrating what it genuinely meant for the entire sport. Team USA coaches watched this destructive behavior for 2 full, agonizing years before making their final decisive roster decision. They saw with crystal clarity exactly which player would genuinely represent the country with unwavering class, integrity, and professionalism, and which player would inevitably create nothing but unnecessary self-centered drama. Wilson, in essence, meticulously wrote her own exit letter from the national program, with every jealous, passive-aggressive, and frankly unprofessional comment. She genuinely thought she was protecting her reputation, her legacy, but in reality, she was actively, systematically destroying her standing with the national team leadership, burning every single bridge behind her. The player who couldn't even celebrate another woman's monumental success definitely, unequivocally couldn't represent her country with the paramount professionalism required. Wilson ultimately created the exact toxic narrative that in the end got her definitively kicked off Team U. Her 2-year relentless campaign against Clark backfired so spectacularly, it's almost a dark comedy. She didn't just damage, she irreparably damaged her own reputation, while simultaneously unintentionally making Clark look even better, even more heroic by comparison. Clark, meanwhile, graciously received her coveted Team USA invitation, while Wilson was still making angry, futile phone calls to anyone within USA basketball who would still deign to listen. Clark immediately started diligently preparing for the evaluation camp, with the same quiet, relentless work ethic that had already made her a college legend. She understood deeply that this opportunity was more than just making a roster. It was stepping into the pivotal role Wilson thought belonged to her permanently, by right. The developing electric chemistry between Clark and Aaliyah Boston, which beautifully developed from their intense college rivalry and mutual genuine respect, now provides Team USA with a foundational strength that Wilson's towering, self-serving ego could never have provided. Wilson's personality, to be blunt, would have relentlessly demanded that absolutely everything revolve around her individual success, her individual statistics, her individual accolades. Team USA coaches now, without hesitation, see Clark as the perfect ambassador for American basketball on the global stage. Her unwavering professionalism, her calm demeanor in the face of Wilson's constant childish attacks, proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that she can handle immense pressure without creating drama. While Wilson tragically demonstrated the exact opposite qualities at every turn. The upcoming evaluation camp will, without question, serve as Clark's official coronation as the new global face of women's basketball. Wilson's dramatic, humiliating exclusion sends a clear, incredibly powerful message to every single WNBA player about what Team USA truly valued. Yes, statistical achievements matter immensely, but character, impeccable conduct, and genuine global marketability now carry equal, if not greater weight when you are entrusted with the immense honor of representing your country. Players who actively build up women's basketball, who elevate the sport, get rewarded. Players who relentlessly tear down their competitors, get left decisively behind. Wilson chose blinding jealousy over genuine leadership, and she paid the highest possible price for that destructive choice. Clark's undeniable appeal extends far, far beyond American borders, in ways Wilson's more one-dimensional brand never could, never achieved. International fans, captivated by her unique talent, fell head over heels in love with Clark's iconic deep-range shooting and her infectious competitive spirit during her legendary college run. She brings an unparalleled excitement and an unselfish athleticism that effortlessly translates across all cultures and languages, breaking down barriers. Wilson's more insular, one-dimensional approach to her brand focused primarily on established basketball fans, not on the absolutely crucial imperative task of actively growing a massive new global audience. The 2026 World Cup and the 2028 Olympics will now beautifully showcase Clark's dynamic leadership on basketball's biggest, most prestigious stages. Team USA coaches now unequivocally plan to build their entire system around her unique transformative skill set and her unparalleled basketball IQ. Wilson's drama, her constant need for attention, would have created nothing but unnecessary, self-serving distractions during both the intensive preparation and the high-stakes competition. Clark's focus, conversely, remains locked, laser-focused on the team's collective success, never ever on individual recognition or ego. The 2026 World Cup just became appointment television, a must-watch event, with Clark confidently leading a new generation that profoundly values teamwork, unity and shared success over toxic, corrosive competition. The selection pool roster, in its elegant simplicity, tells the entire powerful story without speaking a single solitary word. Wilson's furious, self-incriminating reaction confirmed every single suspicion the coaches already harbored about her character and her true fitness to represent the country. She couldn't or wouldn't handle the direct consequences of her own destructive actions, which ultimately became the final undeniable piece of evidence Team USA needed to move on completely and decisively. Clark, the epitome of a professional, now quietly gets ready for camp, while Wilson, the angry former star, is left to watch, fuming from the sidelines. The era of the special whistle player is unequivocally over. The glorious era of pure, unguardable, fundamental skill has officially definitively begun. Now, again, do you still think A'ja Wilson deserved to be kicked off Team USA? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And hey, while you're here, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe and turn on all notifications so you never ever miss out on our in-depth coverage. Click the video on your screen right now, and we will absolutely see you in the next one.